Hi, everyone. I'm retired meteorologist Pat Prokop. Today is Friday, the 13th of December, and it's been chilly, but things are going to be warming up over the next several days and then chilling back down again. Well, typical winter weather conditions around here, temperature-wise. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk about that from cold to warm back to cold. Also, for the weekend, we have the full moon and the planets are dominating the sky at night. Also, the Geminid meteor shower peaks this weekend. Also, speaking of the moon, it's over at perigee right now, meaning closest to the Earth, and that's going to generate super high tides this weekend. I'm going to talk about that. The earliest sunset, that's already occurred, and yet it's not even the first day of winter. What's going on with that? I'm going to show you why, and talk about the winter solstice, when it's going to occur, and also a thing called perihelion, when the sun and the Earth are closest to each other for the year, and a quick peek at the winter garden outside. Yes, it is still growing, but let's first of all talk about the weather. Let's go into the maps. And first of all, not too many advisories ongoing right now. There is a winter storm advisory in effect for the upper portions of the Mississippi River Valley into the middle of Mississippi River Valley, the northern portion of the Mississippi River Valley. There is a big storm lurking off the west coast of the United States. That's going to be affecting us eventually. I'm going to talk more about that coming up. And over here we do have, an advisory for high surf and high tide for the Georgia coast south of the Altamaha River. I would imagine this could be extended northward across all of the Georgia coastal areas into southern South Carolina coast for the high tides coming in for tomorrow. But let's take a look at the jet stream, because that's going to be an important player over the next several days. And during the winter months, it's the jet stream that really dictates the type of weather that we're having. And this little bend in the jet stream right here, very strong jet moving away, exiting the coast, that brought in the cold temperatures over the last several days. But as it moves off to the east, this, what we call ridge of high pressure, will be moving on in. But this is that big storm lurking off into the off the west coast of the United States, and that's going to bring in some moderate to heavy rains across the middle and western coast and upper coast of North America over the next several days. And eventually, this trough will make its way eastward into our region. All right, let's move away from that and go into the maps themselves. Here's the jet stream right now. And we're beginning to see that cold portion move on out. So let's put this into motion. You can see that ridge begins to build up in the middle portion of the country, and that's affecting us. This is going into early next week with this area like this building up. That's going to give us warmer temperatures. And I'm talking temperatures in the 70s for the highs for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, maybe even a Thursday. But continuing into the time frame, we're seeing a trough sliding to the east of north of us to the east, but then another wave starts coming in from the northwest portion of the country. Let's keep an eye on that, because that's going to be significant. Look at what's happening to the jet stream here, and you can see it taking a big dive southward into our area. This is for Thursday night of December 19th into Friday morning, December 20th, going into the first day of winter. And then another surge, look at that, comes down. Now, I have a feeling that this model, the GFS, the Global Forecast System, the American model, is overreacting a little bit, but it's still showing a very sharp curve. And that's going to bring in some very cold temperatures, of sub-freezing temperatures once again, perhaps lower 20s, if this is correct. Some of the other models are indicating that it won't be quite as intense. The Canadian model right here shows it not as intense, as you can see. And the ECMWF hasn't arrived yet this afternoon. Has it? Yeah, there it is. Okay. And it's not quite as intense either. So it's there, but not quite as intense, and it's very quick. So not going to worry too much about that. Looking at the forecast models themselves at the surface, something else is going on. It's this down over here. So let's take a look at the region over here in the western Atlantic Ocean. right there. And it's not a tropical storm, but it's a low pressure system in the tropics that's trying to develop. That in combination with this high pressure to the north, this is going to be producing some very strong winds across our coastal regions. Okay, let's begin right now. This is for tonight at 2 o'clock in the morning. Okay, 1 o'clock in the morning. This is sunrise on Saturday. Here you have a very stiff east wind coming in off the Atlantic Ocean. There's the low itself and the highway up to the north. So it's producing the stiff wind, a large fetch of wind. That's going to be blowing in the tide. So the tide's going to be blowing in during the morning hours. And the tide already is going to be quite high at 8.4 feet. Now, this could generate additional 1 to 2 feet, looking more like perhaps 2 feet in addition to the tide. So we might be looking at a 10.5-foot tide coming in tomorrow morning around 6:30, just before sunrise. And if that be the case, flooding usually occurs when the tide reaches about 9.5 feet. So we're looking at potential 10-foot to 10.5-foot tide. And then going into tomorrow afternoon, the winds continue to be a steady, strong fetch from the east, and that's going to continue to hold in the tide. So the tide won't be really going out much during the afternoon hours. It'll go out, but not as much as it would be. And then during the night, going into Sunday morning, right over here. This is sunrise Sunday. We still have that strong fetch of winds. The tide will be about an hour later, but just as high, 8.4 feet, but could be 2 feet higher than that. So we're looking at a potential another morning of high tide flooding along some of the coastal highways in the tidal areas Sunday morning between, say, 6 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock in the morning. We could see possible road closures. Just keep your eye on that for the tides. All right, let's talk about some astronomy. The astronomy, what's going on up in the sky right now? The moon is just about full. It'll be full over the weekend. And have you been noticing this very bright object in the southwestern sky at sunset? That's the planet Venus. And Venus is getting brighter and brighter. It is the third brightest object up in the sky. Over here is Saturn getting dimmer and dimmer as it moves further and further away in its orbit. And but you can still see it. It's a dull yellow star up in the southwestern, higher up in the southwestern sky. And then this is at 6 o'clock at night, and going into around 8 o'clock at night, you have Jupiter is dominating the eastern sky, and right now the moon is right next to Jupiter. So tonight the moon will be over here. This is for tomorrow night, Saturday night. The moon will be just to the upper left of Jupiter. Now over here you have this little thing called the Pleiades sky cluster. And I think I can zoom in on that and bring it down a little bit. The Pleiades right here is a awesome looking nebulosity of stars, very hot stars. Now, if you want to know more about this, the Pleiades, I made a great video, I thought. Anyway, it's available. You can, I'll have the link to this video. Well, there's the card right there. But wait till the end of the video. I'll have a link at the end of the video and in the comment sections below, the description areas below. I'll have a link to the Pleiades. What are they? The mythological family of the Pleiades, and not too far away, you have the Hyades. All these are sisters of each other. Okay. Meanwhile, looking back at the sky and going in a little bit later in the evening, by 10 o'clock at night, over here in the east-southeastern sky, let's bring it over here, south over here, you have the planet Mars. Now, if you've been watching, Mars is getting brighter and brighter up in the sky. It is the fourth brightest object in the sky now. The order of brightness, you get the sun, the moon, Venus, and then, well, Jupiter. So Mars is the fifth brightest object in the sky right now. But it'll be competing with Jupiter a little bit later on in early January. But yeah, Jupiter is the fourth brightest at the moment, and then Mars. So you have a lot of great things to view up in the sky. And there you have the Geminid meteor showers at peaks this weekend. But unfortunately, the moon is full, and that's going to wash out a lot of the meteors, the dimmer meteors, even the medium bright meteors will be washed out by the light of the full moon. But anyway, if you want to get out, look at the Geminids, look to the eastern sky, particularly after midnight is your better time for viewing. But again, you're going to have the issue with the full moon. All right. So have you noticed the sun beginning to set a little bit later each day? Earlier this month, right around the 1st of December, it was setting at 5:19 in the Savannah area. Now it's setting at 5:21. What goes with that? Usually, don't you expect to see the shortest days on the first day of winter? And that's coming up on December 21st. And the exact time of that will be at 4:19 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's the winter solstice. But the sun is setting later now, but it will be rising later until, gosh, about the middle of January. So let's take a look at the orbit of the Earth. You can see right now we're just about at the winter solstice, where the axis of rotation is pointing away from the sun. So the northern hemisphere is pointing away from the sun. Now, the southern hemisphere, they're having their summer coming up right now. Meanwhile, a half year later, we'll be on the other side of the orbit, and we'll be our angle of the tilt hasn't changed any, but the orbit has. So we'll be looking more so into the sun. So we'll have more direct radiation from the sun coming in on those days. Now, on January 4th, believe it or not, we're at perihelion. That is closest approach to the sun. Yeah, it's wintertime, but we're at closest approach to the sun. On that day, we'll be a distance of 91,405,993 miles away. Compared to July 3rd, it'll be 94.5 million miles away. That is a difference of 3,096,946 miles, or about 3% difference. So it's not that much of a difference from the distance to the sun that's causing the warming and the cooling of the summer and the winter. Because remember, right now in the southern hemisphere, it's going into summer. So, and while we're in summer, they're in their winter. But anyway, and the reason the sun now is setting later in the evening is because the Earth, being at perihelion, is moving faster in its orbit. Newton's law states that the object orbiting the sun, for example, or anything, but an object orbiting the sun will move faster the closer it is to the sun. And since we're closer to the sun, we're moving faster. So our rotation, as the Earth is revolving around the sun, of course, it's rotating every 24 hours. It's rotating into that space where the time makes the difference. So the clocks are a little behind because the Earth's motion is so fast. Hence, the sun is setting later in the evening, but it's also rising later in the morning. And the shortest day will be on December 21st, even though the sun will be setting about 5 minutes later than it was on December 1st. The sunrise will be about 7 minutes later than it was on December 1st. So yeah, that's the reason right there. It wasn't in a nutshell, but that's the reason. All right, let's talk about the garden. You know, I've been talking about my winter garden, and believe it or not, for Thanksgiving, I harvest fresh broccoli out of the garden. Broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, collards, the Brassica families, they love the cold air. They don't like it really cold, but they do like the cold air. They don't like the hot air. I can tell you that right now, but they're growing very well. I'm in coastal areas of Georgia, so inland areas you might have a little bit more difficulty, but coastal areas, having a good time growing. And the cauliflower is, I'm going to be cutting cauliflower next week. A lot of cauliflower heads are forming. And also with the broccoli, once you cut the broccoli, it will send up new spears of broccoli, not as big as the original head of broccoli or bunch, but there's more broccoli to be harvested, and they're already starting to grow more spears of broccoli. Cabbage, that's doing very well. It's forming the heads. It looks like about a week to 10 days, and I'll be cutting cabbage. And then also, as I mentioned, I've been trying to grow these potatoes. I'm just experimenting with them, but they're growing. And with the temperatures coming up this weekend in the 70s, I expect to see some great growing weather conditions for the garden. Let's take a look at the weather forecast. And here we go into Saturday. It's going to be a mix of sun and clouds, more clouds than sun, though, and windy. It's going to be a windy day. Winds will be gusting at 20 to 25, even perhaps up to 30 miles per hour at times. And then going into Sunday, still windy, but not quite as windy. Temperatures 67 for the high on Sunday. And then look at Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Middle 70s for the highs with lows in the middle 50s. Next rain chance comes in along about Thursday, but it doesn't look like a lot of rain associated, maybe a tenth of an inch if we're lucky. But then the temperatures will drop behind that. But let's take a look at the extended outlook, my extended outlook. And we're above normal, well, not at the moment, but we will be next week. We'll be above normal. And then the following week, the week of December 21st through December 27th, going into Christmas and Hanukkah, temperatures will be right around normal for this time of the year. 63 is normal high, 42 is the normal low. And then going into week 3, which is the end of the year, going into the beginning of the year, back to above normal temperatures, and then slightly above normal for a good portion of January of 2025. So thanks for all of those who have been supporting my channel. I appreciate that very much. And if you'd like to give me a super thank, I'll like that as well. You don't have to. I mean, it's there, available. I need support for this channel anyway. Thanks for watching. And again, watch this video over here. That's the Pleiades. I think you're going to like it. It came out really good. The mythology behind it, you know, who's mom and dad and the 7 beautiful sisters and their half-sisters. It's all a soap opera up in the sky. With that being said, see ya.